hope you've been really well since the last time I was on here. It's been a little while. This is going to be a pretty lengthy video, so I just want to jump right in and get to it. I thought for the last several weeks that I was done with talking about Sweden and the discrimination that I was subjected to back around Easter time. However, that turns out not to be the case. This was never a channel, just to preface, this was never a channel that was designed to be negative or profoundly anti-anything in any way, shape or form. If you look at my previous videos before I came forward with this case and this story, you will see that everything was very positive, very uplifting and encouraging, and trying to figure ways out to be able to jump over hurdles and obstacles in life in the most natural way with the greatest ease and really lift people up. I just wasn't able to always be as active as I would like because I was finishing up these projects, but the plan was always at around summertime this year I would be finished up with these projects for the most part, and if they were going to be in other people's hands and third parties, that I was actually going to get some help and freeing up some of my time so I could come on here and really give you an insight into the movie industry within Europe, particularly Sweden. So it was all ever designed as a positive and a good and insightful for those of you who may not be in the industry but may have aspirations and dreams to infiltrate it, or maybe some of you that are in it and you're just coming across pitfalls, which is standard in this industry, and I'm sure it's standard in most industries too. So, as good as my intentions were, this is not going to turn into a negative channel overall, but I am sharing my story with you as the course unravels. My journey has taken unprecedented, insightful, should we say nosedive? Maybe it feels right about now, to say a bit of a head dive. It doesn't feel as it did last year. There's definitely been a change in the tide that is evident. So, this channel isn't just going to turn into something about Sweden constantly. It is going to be something that I share with you in the course of my career so you can see what issues a screenwriter or an author we genuinely face in the industry, because it's such a closed industry. Not everybody is aware of how to get into it, how to network, how to, source producers and studios, and how to get your foot through the door. It is a very, very closed industry in that way. So it's always helpful if somebody who is a little bit more into it than you, that can help. I didn't have that whenever I was starting out. I was like learning everything from page one with no mentor or no help and assistance in any way, shape or form. And therefore, I found it really struggling, and I still find it a struggle to this day, which you will understand whenever I share this story, this addition to the story with you today. So, it's not about trashing any country, because I'm not doing that. I'm just sharing facts and my experiences. But it's something that I didn't think I needed to be aware of, but those blinders and blinkers are off my eyes now, so I've had a new experience and a new perspective on how to look at this situation. So I'm sure this is only going to be a bump in the road, and in 5 years time, 10 years time, I'm going to be looking back at it and just be like, why the heck? I mean, it's not that I'm making light of it either, because I'm not. It's not something that should be made light of. Irregardless of the abuse from last time in your droves, very, very hateful people out there, that's for sure. But luckily it had no effect on me, and really you just highlighted what you are and what you'll never be, for which you have my deepest and honest pity and empathy for that, because to have those opinions with such hatred in your mind, there's nothing that can be done but pity you and hope that the Holy Spirit and God, if you believe in God and are a Christian, infiltrates your life and shows you the right way to be with humanity. And that is my hope for you, sincerely, from the bottom of my heart. Take it whatever way you like. This isn't a religious channel, but it's also not a channel full of hatred either. So I'm going to get into this. I'll let you know what recently happened, literally 3 days ago. So this is the 27th of May 2024, and so last week I received a email from 2 companies. So effectively, let me backtrack, sorry. After last time we spoke, I had several companies reach out to me and ask for meetings. We had those meetings. The studios, when I say agents, I mean studios, movie studios in Sweden, in various cities. Loved my screenplay, wanted a meeting, wanted to put it into development. They asked me specifically, could we have your permission to send out your work and source producers for you, executive Swedish producers who couldn't access funding and actually get this produced. I wasn't necessarily going to take the meetings at that time because it was still very soon right after what had originally happened, and I wasn't sure where I was going to go with it, if I was even interested in pursuing Sweden any further. So I wasn't really sure, but I was like, okay, the second email came in. There was another studio in Sweden. They felt it almost a repetitious email from the first, saying they loved my screenplay. They wanted to see if they could get producers and carry on. So the third company did that. And if you remember, I did a very, very quick video saying thank you, I had a wonderful meeting with somebody, and I was treated with utmost respect. And I was really genuinely appreciative of that. So that was the timestamp of when that happened. Fast forward some weeks, I am then emailed fairly soon, apart from the same companies again, saying that they have producers that love my screenplay. They truly believe that it'll be a hit show if it was produced. However, they're not interested in taking my work because I'm not Swedish. This didn't happen just once, it happened multiple times now. This wasn't being said to me, I didn't speak to these additional producers. This was the studios talking to the producers that they would work with on a regular basis on a plethora of different TV shows and feature movies. So this is the middle guy telling me, well, these producers are saying that they love your work, but they don't want to invest money or time and effort into you because you are not Swedish. So therefore, no can do, we're not interested. So it happened once and then happened multiple times, and then I was like, this is a real problem. So I sat on it, and I didn't want to get embittered because something like that can very easily overtake a life, and then I'd end up just like the people in the comment section, and I refused to be that kind of person. I tried to, it's not been easy to kind of, over the years, you kind of go through different phases of your life, and you become bitter, you become resentful, and it's not good. And I haven't done so much work to self-develop my personal mindset and expansive perspectives on things and people in general, and just life in the general sense of life, as far as, being respectful towards religions and other cultures, and basically everything consistent of how we live our life day to day, and really embracing other cultures and really embracing other ways and thinking kind of more outside my own little bubble. And I don't want to become closed off and narrow-minded and have these bubbling resentments towards people just because there may be a few bad apples in the cards. But this has become more of an issue than I had ever expected, and it certainly was unprecedented in my life, in my course of this journey, because last year all I ever had were wonderful experiences. I couldn't say good enough about the Swedish people, how I was treated, how people spoke to me, how people, went out of their way to try to help. This year, I have no idea what has gone on this year, if there's something in Sweden that's really kicked off. I really do not know what has kicked off this year, but something has definitely changed significantly, and it's not good. So I'm going to read the email that I sent to my contact 3 days ago, so that'll be last week. So I just basically, pleasant hours, good afternoon. I want to let you know that I have spoken with many Swedish producers and many companies who have also spoken with Swedish producers they work with. They all agree that they love my work and believe it would be a hit if produced, but when it comes to my nationality, they will not take on the project. This is not an assumption, this has been clearly stated to me in no uncertain terms, leaving no room for misinterpretation or misunderstanding. Not only has it been told to me, it has been told to a company that was sourcing producers for this project also. I have been called some of the worst names for not being Swedish. Until the last few months, I've only ever had wonderful experiences with everyone across the board, which I highlighted in my last correspondence. In recent months, that has significantly changed and has become too serious of a problem to overlook at this point. Just letting you know where I am at and why. This is very disappointing after spending 16 months on this project to be repeatedly and blatantly discriminated against. I have no words, honestly. I didn't hear anything right away, but this morning I heard something, and this person got back to me. I am sorry to hear that this is how you feel. This is an experience and perspective that I have not seen in the Swedish film industry, and in brackets, or any other Swedish industry. Sweden has always been welcoming other people, regardless of where they happen to come from. Have always taken pride in being international and networking on an international level. I know many producers whose only job is to collaborate with people from all corners of the world. So this is not an image of the industry that I share. I regularly meet with a group of film commissioners. We talk about all aspects of national production. I have told them about this and your last meal. They have a good overview of what's happening in the country. They have never seen or heard of this kind of behaviour. I wish you luck in your endeavours in the getting of this project done. Best of luck. So that is literally the severing of our relationship. I think we can all agree on that. So yes, I totally agree. I just did a very quick search into Google Swedish equality, and it comes up as equality between women and men is a constitutional norm and an explicit policy objective in Sweden. The ultimate aim of Swedish gender equality policy is for women and men to have the same opportunities, rights and responsibilities in all areas of life. That said, I was left scratching my head because it's like, well, the way I read that was, you're wrong, it doesn't happen, there's no discrimination in Sweden. Until I started doing a little bit of digging, and I thought, genuinely, hand on heart, that I was going to have slim pickings. Because I, last time, as you will know if you watched the other videos, did searches on issues that were affecting Sweden and potentially why this hatred was being spewed at me for being a foreigner that haven't even been in their country yet. So I thought maybe it's just societal because of the chaos that's happening over there, understandably, absolutely understandably. And I don't think anybody could take that away from them. It's happening in so many countries around the world, including my own. And it is really becoming a pandemic of its own kind. But I never specifically looked up discrimination or racism or biasness in any way in the movie industry in Sweden. It just didn't come to mind. So I did some quick searches, and I was able to get 2 free PDFs, downloads, one a non-fiction book of a Swedish woman who wrote a book regarding across the experience of women in general, both Swedish and other nationalities, of women specifically in the movie industry in Sweden, both in front and behind of the camera. So actors, writers, directors, producers, everybody, all inclusive. And then I got another one, which is making me have alarm bells ring off in my head from the email that I just received. The Svenska Film Institution, which is essentially the Swedish institution, released a report that was quite a serious report, I have to say. I haven't gone through it all extensively. I've skimmed through it very quickly so I could do this video first of all. I am going to be doing my research and reading both the 200 and something page non-fiction book and the reports of their analysis investigation, speaking with multiple women, like I say, with the Svenska, as in the Swedish Film Institution. So, I took some notes from that report that I found really important and crucial to share, particularly in hindsight of that email that I received. So there's so much, is that where do I start? Right, so several scandals regarding discrimination have occurred recently is one of the articles, and this was published in 2020, in the summer of 2020. I'm not sure if is it Opapen or OAPEN in 2023 also released this book. This was the book that I'm talking about, and this was the article on the site. It's a book now about all these women in the Swedish film industry, and the author is Louise Wallenberg, and it's a 225-page non-fiction book highlighting these issues that are specifically aimed at women. I have got that copy now. I'm going to read all 225 pages, take some notes, and bring back to you what this professional in the industry has found issues with. And then, as I was saying, the Svenska Film Institute also had a report based on harassment, violations, and systematic silencing of women. So in preparation for this report, they focused on women who had experienced discrimination based on age, skin color, and other racial structures. These voices are rarely heard. That is what it states clearly in this report from the Svenska Film Institute. Now, there's no way that you could be involved in any sort of part of movies in Sweden and not know the Svenska Film Institution. And what likelihood, and this is a question, an open question, what likelihood would it be that any film commissioner, any producer, any director, any studio in Sweden would not have access or would not have read this report, particularly in the wake of the Me Too movement, when everything really hit the fan, including in France, and Roman Polanski got booed and cheered in public for issues that he had. I'm not saying that he's guilty, he's not guilty. It was just highlighted back then. So what is the likelihood that they would not know that this report exists? Because this report is really rather sickening. And I know when I read it in its full entirety that I'm going to have some grievances, because it's things that I can identify with, and this is my career, and I've worked really, really hard and long, and that equality is vital, more now than ever. And for a country that preaches this equality, particularly pertaining to the women and the men more so than other racial issues, they really need to be held accountable to a higher degree than most, because at least in other countries, some constitution may not push the equality topic as far out as some of these Scandinavian countries. And I'm not saying other Scandinavian countries are responsible for this, but I'm pertaining solely to Sweden. And if Sweden preach this, then they need to be held accountable. They need to be held by the standards that they claim to project and stand by and work by on a day-to-day basis. And these are Swedish women who are predominantly in this report. And so they're saying overall there's not the equality that is preached. They're not on the same wages. It shows you graphs of data where budgets for movies were much more significant in cost expenditures wise for men than it was women. And it's a huge gap, actually, a pretty darn huge gap. More so surprising because of the equality that they do preach so widely and extensively. So these voices are rarely heard, indicating to me that they're aware that these issues arise, hence why they had a full investigation and analysis into this report. So they know that people are being silenced, so much so that in this report all of the women that came forward, producers, screenwriters, directors, actors, have been so scared to have their identity made public because they're scared of their career being destroyed. This is a real problem, and it's really, if you're not in the industry, you probably don't care. If you aren't in the industry, sometimes you might be interested in hearing tidbits of information. But if you definitely are in the industry, this is a real crying alarm for me. So voices already heard included both men and women in front of the camera, so writers included in that. Out of concern for these people's careers, they remain anonymous. So I'm going to quote some of these women who don't know me. I don't know these women. Their names aren't there. I can't look them up. Can't reach out to them. So these are their quotations from their opinion and experiences. So one woman said, "Should I swallow this violation or just tell him to go to hell and keep working? Because in the long run, my career is more important. The next job is more important. I want to do well, or should I take one for the fellow sisters?" Ending that quote in, "Who bears the cost of starting to speak up?" Another aspect of the report is a culture of silence and no structure of whistleblowing. We don't talk about this with anyone. The culture of silence has long protected predators. I've always worked with white producers. I could never imagine proposing a non-white producer. If I did, I would never get any money. They agree that there are obstacles at numerous stages of the work. Now, to be fair on this one, it's the industry that there's going to always be obstacles in some capacity. That is also a given. But if they're meaning this more from internally with men and women and the lack of fairness, this report is very heavy on the racism side of it, as in colour of skin, opposed to at first glance I didn't really see anything about religion, but definitely on age and additional sectors of racism and discrimination in that field. And this is the part that really struck home to me. And this is a quote from another one. And if you, please don't take my word for this actually, please go on and do your own research and look up the PDF download that you can get from the Svenska Film Institution, and it will give you the whole report and you can see this for yourself. And this is the part that got me. If you're not documented, then you don't exist. So it's all about not speaking up, being forced to keep silent, people having to be anonymous because they fear their careers, and backlash and what these producers and studios can do, and keep everything kind of internal and you not be able to prove anything and things like that. And this is the point I want to really make on here. This is the overall vibe of this report, is trying to make racialization visible. So they know that there's cover-ups, and this analysed discriminatory practices of gatekeeping. So I looked up what the true definition is of gatekeeping, as in the Cambridge Dictionary. And I quote, and again please look it up for yourself, "The activity of trying to control who gets particular resources, power, or opportunities, and who does not." Now this is not just little old me coming to tell you that I have found some sickening things during this journey. There's other women that are suffering and feel that they're suffering in silence. That has been really brought home by this report, and it was done independently in Sweden. So my question is, for my contact to say, Unanimously, he and the other film commissioners in Sweden have never heard of any of this kind of conduct, ever, in the past, now, whatever. It's not something that happened, and I'm probably just a little bit too sensitive and taking things the wrong way. When I purposely reached out to him, letting him know that an independent third party, a film studio, who wanted to make my work into a feature movie trilogy, also had the exact same problem, but that's overlooked as well. Now, I understand that nobody wants to be called anything kind of contentious, and accusing somebody or an organisation or even a country of discrimination is quite a strong, profound accusation. However, in this case, I'm now supported by so many other women, including Swedish women who have, for one reason or another, received discrimination for sexism as well. There is an issue, and it's all out there. I didn't have slim pickings at all when I did research into discrimination in the Swedish film industry. There is an awful lot. In fact, there's a bit too much information out there that it's shocking. And like I said in my email to this contact, it's too much to overlook right at this point, and that's why I'm not going to overlook it. I have come forward with my story. I'm not going to be silent, and I'm not going to be silenced by producers who think that they can walk all over my rights, and because of their reputations and their company reputations, they can send legal letters to intimidate, to keep me quiet. They want to sue, because in every court case there is a level of, especially in civil, there's always a element of discovery, so their reputations will be overhauled as well. I wonder how many corpses and skeletons and women or other men from other nationalities and other countries would come out of the woodwork. That would be very insightful. So if you want to sue, by all means, I'm only too happy, because you will be looked into as well. And I really don't think at this rate, with how extensive and how entitled you seem to have been to do it, like you would do it every single day, every opportunity you got, that your reputation in Slate is perfectly pristine, irregardless of how you try to use good PR to make sure that your reputation seems one way or the other. But I don't think people are as foolish these days as they used to be, because it is a closed kind of industry. And I have officially decided that I will not continue with my work in Sweden, that I am pulling everything that I had worked for 16 months to try to bring to that country where I thought at one time it would have been my forever home, and emerge within your culture, that I really truly supported and respected, learning the language, learning your traditions, learning your heritage, really doing a deep dive into your history across the board, as far as, you know, how you celebrate Christmas, your religion, like what your beliefs are. So when I went to your country, I could offer you the highest respect of being able to know your language, of being able to communicate with you in your language. And to me, that was the height of respect. Rather than going to your country and expecting you to bend to my will, which was never anything that I would do to anybody's country. So I am going to finish it up right now, because I want to get it tucked in. I cannot wait to get tucked into this report and this book, and come back to you with facts from other people. I think this is more paramount now than earlier, because now these are independent people. There's no emotional tie. I don't know them, they don't know me. And now we can actually have this open can of worms and start to analyse it ourselves and dissect it. And for those of you who are not in the industry but think that you might like to get into the industry, or you've been struggling, I hope this is an eye-opener as to what this industry can be like. And it's not just LA and Hollywood. It's not just, those sorts of places. It's also unfortunately in this case, Sweden. And it brings me so much heartache to say that, because I invested so much of my life, my energy, my dedication into that, to the point that I am now changing my novel that was based in this movie that was in Sweden. I'm taking the time to rewrite it in a new country, because unfortunately, because of this, I just feel like I need to wash my hands of it for my own health and sanity. I don't want to keep putting myself in a contentious situation where this is going to keep happening. And the minute it happened with independent third parties, other companies saying this to me, that this is what producers have issues with, they want your work but they don't want you because you're not Swedish, it really became clear it's going to be a constant, repetitive battle of the same. And you have to know when to check out. And on this case, I check out, and it brings me no pleasure to say that. It actually hurts me to say that, but it is what it is. And it's just a curve in a career, and I'll probably look back in this and be like, just, it's one of those things. It shouldn't be one of those things. There's no justification for that. There is no excuse. But it is one of those things, and